Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. So today what we're going to do is we're going to fix a MacBook. I find that sometimes my natural meditative state comes about when I'm fixing a MacBook, and we're going to see if that helps with any of the lovely, lovely mail that I have here. You know what, I'm just not going to depress myself by even getting into it. So let's take a look at what it is that we have under here, shall we? And see if there's anything we can do to make it work again. Click on. Good little camera. All right, so what do we have here? Well, what do you know? It's a MacBook. It's a MacBook. So how would we get started with this? Well, anybody here remember what it is that we used to do back in the day when we used to fix MacBooks? Well, one of the things that you do, first thing you should always do, is you should unplug the battery. One thing that I also notice here is that this battery cable is unplugged, and somebody messed up this little latch on the board over here that would allow the battery cable to connect, which is really, really lame. Very, very lame. I don't understand why somebody would do that. That's not a nice thing to do to the computer. That's not a nice thing. It needs that so that the battery can speak to the computer, because the battery can't speak to the computer. It's not actually going to work. But I still tend to unplug it just out of a sense of over caution. So first thing that we always do is we unplug the battery, and then we plug in the charger so that we can get an idea of how much power it is that the board itself is taking, because that often actually gives us an answer as to what it is that our problem is. You know, when you kind of have an association, once you spend 2 hours trying to fix a problem and you finally figure it out, one of the things that it makes sense to do is to just kind of take a basic little peek around and see what it was that it was doing beforehand, and then make an association. Okay, so when the board is doing X, the problem is Y. You make a nice little table like that for yourself. So this is 5 volts, 0.01 amps. That's no good. Now typically that tends to mean that PP3V3_G3 hot is missing, or that a CD3215 is not working properly. I'm not really sure which of the above it is. Not really sure what's going on with this, but we're going to open it and see. And I'll have all of you here to follow along with me. Isn't it fun to be able to follow along with me? Yep, one of the things that is kind of a constant in the world, regardless of what's going on, it's that MacBooks will need to be fixed, and people out there will need to know how to fix them. That's why we do these videos, so that all of you will know how to fix MacBooks and have some understanding of how to make them work again. The world needs more people that are willing to take things that don't work and make them work again. Willing to kind of dig into a problem and figure it out rather than just give up and toss it out. I'm glad you're confused, Arfman. I live on your confusion. Your confusion feeds me. You know that? It actually feeds me. It makes me stronger. I always feel like I'm going to rip this little cable over here. It wants to rip so badly, but I don't give it the satisfaction of that. If I told you where I was, Arf man, you know what would happen? You know what would happen? People would show up. They'd show up, and they would surround me. They would trap me. It's imperative that it remain a secret. You know that kid that's figuring out where Elon, he's tweeting every single time Elon Musk's jet takes off and lands? How Elon offered him like $5,000 or $500 to stop doing it? When you know where someone is, there's power in that, you know? Can't give people that power. Refuse. I deny them that power. They got deleted along with about 2 years of random posts on my community page. It was time for a cleanse. A cleanse of the old, a cleanse of the memories, a cleanse of the fail, a cleanse of the memories associated with the fail. I'm not interested in watch repair. Watches don't have a lot of utility. I don't get anything out of it. Would it be wise to assume if a MacBook was sent to you for repair but sent back as a no repair but CPU gets warm, it's most likely a dead CPU? That's not a bad guess. That's not a bad guess. That's where I would start. That's what I would assume. Are you grounded? Electronically, yes. Mentally, no. I have my desk grounded, and with my left hand I'll often tap the bottom of it on a regular enough basis. But if you're asking if I'm mentally or emotionally grounded, no, haven't been for a long time. But I am electronically grounded, for anybody who's interested. Okay, so we have our board. Thank you, Vasa. It's amazing what you could do with volt amp and a multimeter. I studied this stuff and still think that you must have an oscilloscope and other instruments. No. Oscilloscope doesn't tell you shit. Okay, so you can see a bunch of waving random stuff. Okay, what do you do with that? Every time I hear somebody says, I need an oscilloscope, I say, okay, cool. They probe it. And then they probe and they realize, wait a second, I don't know what the fuck this means. Like, they see a bunch of shit on the screen. They don't know what the fuck any of it means. It's like, exactly. That's not what you need. You need some common sense. You just need common sense, a detective's mindset, and a brain. And a little bit of a brain. Now, my brain usually doesn't work very well. Anybody who's really followed much of my life understands that. Especially if you follow my repair videos. But sometimes I have the capability to surprise people. And you never know. Today I may surprise you. Let's see. We will see. We will see. So I'm going to get the Paul Daniels software on as well as my multimeter. That's imperative. You need to do that. That is necessary. The problem is, sometimes it's difficult getting Paul Daniels' software. Paul Daniels' software to work. But today, we've got a treat for you because we have his software and it's actually working. It's doing what it's supposed to. It's not a normal thing. Everybody should go over to youtube.com/19PLD73. That's youtube.com/19PLD73. And say thank you to Paul Daniels. He has shown us mercy today. The software is working. It is turning on. Any day that the Paul Daniels software works is a good day, in my opinion. Any day that you don't have to pray to make it work is a good day, in my opinion, my estimation. Okay. So, let's kind of go over what's going on here. I don't want to leave you guys out. So, as you can see, when I plug it in, it's stuck at 5 volts. Now, that seems kind of low for a laptop, right? It needs to be 20 volts. It should be 20. 5 volts. Usbc can provide 5 volts, 9 volts for phone fast charging, 20 volts for a computer. We need 20. And in order for the computer to tell the charger to give it what it needs, it has to talk to the charger. And there's a chip that's going to do that. So the charger is going to speak to the USB-C port controller on the board. And if you want to be able to find where that is, Say you got the board view software in front of you. Let's say that you have the board view software in front of you. Oh, sweet mercy. Sweet mercy. Okay, here we go. Let's say you have the board view software in front of you. You have this connector. So as you can see, if you just follow it along over here, you have the charger going to the charge port, and that is going to a connector on the motherboard over here. And that connector is J3300. If you want to know where to get a schematic, you can use a website called google.com. Or you can go to apple.com and ask for them once right to repair has been passed. So we take a look, and now there's a bunch of different lines over here, all different types of stuff, all sorts of ins and outs and things. And I'm kind of a curious guy. I like poking around where I'm not supposed to be poking around. It's just kind of part of who I am. And one of the things that I do is I may just poke around at stuff like this and try to see where things go. And as I'm poking around, seeing where things go, one of the things that you may come to is CC1Con and CC2Con, which is where that is going to be going to a transistor, which then goes over to this chip over here, U3200. Now, what is U3200? That's a good question. If you take a look at what U3200 is, U3200 is called a USB-C port controller. This is the thing that's going to talk to the charger and tell it, hey, I'm a MacBook. I'm not a phone. I want 20 volts. I don't want this 5-volt garbage. Give me some real power. And this chip is powered by its in. So over here, you have all these different things: GPIO, IC2, C, USB TP, RIPIDA, HIVGate, SenSep. I mean, you take a lot of time to learn what all this stuff is. I2C data line, SPI clock, and I know what these things are, but you may not. One of the things that's, you kind of have to guess what all these things are. And over here you have VIN. That's not the identification of your vehicle. That is voltage in, what's going to allow it to turn on. And on MacBook schematics, typically the voltage that's going into a chip that's going to allow it to turn on is going to be located on the top. And when I follow that back, it shows up as PP3V3 underscore G3 hot underscore RTC. So, well, let's take a look and see if that power rail is present and where it comes from. Because I can't blame any of these chips for not working. Can't blame the chip if it's not actually getting the power that it needs to turn on. So all these different points in the board are points that I can check. Now, when you take a look around the board, what I like to do is I like to find the biggest, chunkiest point, or something that's obvious. Show me something nice and chunky that I can easily find. And I'm just going to choose this capacitor that's right under this CD3215 over here, and I'm going to turn on the multimeter software, and we are going to measure what it is we get over there. So you can take your black probe, and your black probe is going to go on ground, and then your red probe is going to go on where it is you're looking to measure. So we're going to do that over here, and we're going to see what it is that we get. So you just got to put the black probe over here, and the red probe is going to go over there. And let's see what it is that we get. 0. Okay, that's not nice. We get 0. Now, well, there's many reasons a power rail cannot be present, right? So we got to try and figure out what the reason is that power rail is not present. Maybe it's not being created. Maybe the chip that's not supposed to be creating it is not being told to create it. You never know. Maybe it's actually creating it, but it's being shorted to ground by something. Maybe it's cut off. It's in this part of the board over here, but it's not on that part of the board over here because of a cut via. Well, there's many different things that can cause that. So let's try and figure that out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have one probe on ground and the other probe on PP3V3 underscore G3 hot underscore RTC. And what I want to do is I want to try and see if it is shorted to ground, because if it's shorted to ground, that would be the explanation, one of the explanations as to why it's not working. And that's a very common thing that can happen. So we are just going to do this, and we are going to measure and see what's popping. Okay, so it looks like open line, so it is not shorted to ground. So we're going to have to do a little bit more research over here to figure out what it is that's going on. Yeah, 5 million ohms. That's not it at all. So the question I would have is, where does PP3V3 underscore G3 hot underscore RTC come from? So we're going to have to kind of explore the schematic over here and figure out what's going on. I don't give a fuck about Elon Musk's live stream. Fuck him. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I see Elon Musk showing up in my chat over and over and over again. I don't give a shit about him, or Mark Zuckerberg, or Jeff Bezos. I don't follow the lives of billionaires. I don't care. I don't care. Okay, so let's figure out where PP3V3 underscore G3 hot underscore RTC is coming from. Now, the thing is, here's a part that kind of confuses a lot of people. What confuses a lot of people is when they need to figure out where something is coming from versus when it's going into something. So here, pp3v3 underscore g3 hot is going to become our pp3v3 underscore g3 hot RTC Mesa. So this is a current sense resistor. You have to know what all these different circuits do or have a slight idea of what these things are doing. So this is a current sensing circuit. So what it's doing is it wants to sense all of the current that's going to be going to, I guess, a Mesa chip. So it's going to go through this resistor. That's pp3v3 underscore g3 hot underscore RTC feeding something that's not pp3v3 underscore g3 hot underscore RTC where it's being created. So let's continue. This is pp3v3 underscore g3 hot going into a chip. Now you may ask, well, why do you assume it's going into the chip and not out? Because it says in. It says in. This says out. So that's not it. I want to see where it's coming from. Again, remember what I said. Usually when it's on the top of a chip, that's where it is powering that chip. So I'm pretty sure that that's powering this chip. That doesn't seem like it's it to me. We're going to keep going. This seems like it powering the keyboard. Again, does the keyboard make a power rail, or does the power rail power the keyboard? Again, some common sense there would tell me that this is not what I'm looking for. Again, I'm looking for where this is created. Looks like this. Again, what do we see over here? pp3v3 underscore g3 hot. It's going on top of the chip, VDD. Anytime you see something like VDD, VCC, VN, that's voltage that's going into the chip. That's not what we're looking for. Here we go. Okay, what do we have over here? V out, 3.3 volts. Bam. Over here, it looks like the output of something. And this looks like the input of something. This is where it's coming from. It's created by U6903. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to want to look for in this section. First thing, you know a little more than that at this point. Bro, you spelled my name without a fucking O. Get out of here. I have not even the slightest set of patience for people that lick Musk's balls tonight. No, fuck out of here. Sorry. Another stream. I just can't. I can't. Go lick Musk's balls somewhere else. No, I don't want no Musk fanboys, no Trump fanboys, no, I don't know, anybody fanboys or online dads or any of this shit. Just like, we're fixing a board. Fuck the rest. All right. So, over here, there's a couple of things that we got to look for. Now, over here, first thing is the chip being asked to turn on? And that's a serious question. So, we have this is an enable pin. So, what this does is it tells the chip, turn on and make this power rail. This R6907. So, I want to see if it's being told to turn on. Second thing I'm going to want to do is see if it's actually getting its voltage in. So this chip is going to take its voltage in and turn it into voltage out. Now again, we don't just replace the chip because the power rail is missing. It's like replacing a light bulb before checking to see if there's power going to it or before checking to see that you turn the light switch on. You want to see if you turn the light switch on, which is EN. You want to see if you have the voltage in, and that's that. So, what we're going to do over here is we are going to check if we have the enable present, because we need the enable. And we're also going to check what we have on input. So input is going to be on R6900. So let's check what we have on R6900. R6900. Where are you, R6900? The Paul Daniel software used to actually surround it so you could see where to... Ah, there it is. I don't know. For some reason, I didn't see that as easily as I used to. I'm trying to figure out a way to frame Paul Daniels for that because that was clearly my mistake. But I feel like I should be blaming him for some reason. The software should have been able to blink or something if I didn't notice it. I don't think that was very noticeable. Has the color scheme on this changed or is it just me? I want to blame Paul Daniels for this. That just doesn't seem like... Let me try that again. That didn't seem very intuitive. Right-click R6900. Yeah, that didn't seem very intuitive, did it not? So I'm over here. I'm going to click R6900. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I really can. Don't really care, EM. Don't really care. Don't give a fuck about the Freedom Convoy. Don't give a fuck about Elon Musk. Care about fixing my board. You are obsessed with the vaccine shit. You literally ask me on every stream. Like, every stream. Everyone. Like, just chillax, man. Chillax. Breathe in. Breathe out. Fix a board. But you always have the same question every time. Same thing. Same thing. Same thing. Get a new topic. Okay. R6900. So, added point. R6900. So what do we have here? Let's see what we have when I plug it in. I do read that chat, but that chat sucks. You guys never have anything good to say. If you spent half of the time that you spent asking if I read your chat saying something interesting, I might just read it. But Twitch chat is, unfortunately, a giant fail. Okay, so now the hard part is going to be locating where this individual resistor is. So it's next to a big capacitor on the left, and it's got like a vertical capacitor on the left, 2 horizontal inductors on the right. So what do we have over here? I don't want your money, Guzzlestride. I want you to pay attention. I get your money if I fix this board. Okay, so let's see. So I believe it's this. So let's see, what do we have over here on input? Okay, so we don't have any input. So I can't really be blaming the chip. Now again, a lot of people, what they would do is they would blame this chip and they would say, I'm missing this power rail. I need to replace this. No, it's not getting its input. It's not getting its input. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what this is over here. ppvin underscore G3 hot underscore P3V3 G3 hot RT. That is confusing. That is a mouthful, is it not? That's really weird. So I don't think that that's the name of that rail. I think that's the name of the rail after it passes through something else, like maybe a current sense resistor. And that seems to be what it is. So if you take a look, R6900, which feeds the chip that's making PP3V3 underscore G3 hot underscore RTC, which is required for us to get 20 volts instead of 5 volts in the charger, which is getting by powering the CD3215, which is not on, is going to come from here. So where do we? Let's take a look at R5420. R5420. Aha! PP bus. So this is interesting. So on the 2019 machines, or the 2018-19 model, PP3V3 underscore G3 hot does not come first, and then PP bus G3 hot second. PP bus G3 hot comes first, and then PP3V3 underscore G3 hot underscore RTC comes second. See that? Sequence is very important. So if you only watched older videos on the A1707 and A1706 and A1708, you just learned something, because usually PP bus is not the rail that comes first. But in 2018, it is. Different design. Things change. So we need our PP bus G3 hot over here, because PP bus G3 hot is going to become ppvin G3 hot P3 over there once it goes through this current sense resistor. And again, the purpose of a current sense resistor is to be able to measure everything going to a specific point. So everything beyond this point is going to be measured by U5420. It's going to see the difference in voltage from here to here. Use that to calculate the current that is being passed to ppvin G3 hot P3V3 G3 HRTC, which is going to be used to create PP3V3 underscore G3 hot underscore RTC. That's a fucking mouthful, man. So let's take a look at what's going on. PP bus G3 hot. So where can we find PP bus G3 hot? Where do we see that? We see that on F7000. A nice, big, hearty, chunky fuse. So, well, let's see. Do we have any voltage there? Well, we go to measure. And what do you get? 0.0000. Well, that's no good. Okay, so, well, same thing is going to apply here. Is there an enable? Is being told to turn on? Is its input there? And above all, is it short to the ground? Well, there's one way to find out. We've got a multimeter. We have Paul Daniels software that'll show the meter on the screen. So what we're going to do is use it. So what do you get? Oh, what do you know? There's a short circuit to ground. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, it looks like we have a short circuit to ground on PP bus G3 hot. And let's make sure that this fuse still works, and the fuse does still work. So it looks like, again, there is a short to ground on our PP bus G3 hot that we are going to have to figure out. Well, luckily, that's easy enough. We're not going to be reballing a PMIC, or replacing a PCH, or have a dead T2 chip. Usually, that winds up being just a bad tantalum capacitor, and oftentimes you can actually see them because they physically break, and those are usually easy board repairs. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can see something that looks damaged physically and hope that that makes things easy. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but you never know. And if that's not the case, then we're going to inject a little bit of voltage in. And after we inject some voltage in, we'll try to figure out what gets hot using the Owie method. I would usually use the thermal camera, but I'm using Linux, and nothing works with Linux, so I cannot use the thermal camera that I have with Linux because, well, Linux. There's no software for it. I guess there would be if I coded it myself, but I'm not smart enough to do that. I'm barely even smart enough to use software that other people code for me, like Paul Daniel, so how would I be smart enough to code my own? I am not a smart person. You just think I'm smart because I know how to do something that you don't know how to do. And that is one of the biggest fallacies in the world, when people call people smart or geniuses because they can see that they know how to do something that they don't. It's one of the coping mechanisms people have. It's a coping mechanism. You see, if you say, instead of saying, that's a normal person that knows how to do something I don't, it's like, okay, well, you can learn it. Whereas if you say, oh my God, that person's a genius, they're so smart, what you're doing is you're putting them above yourself to an extent that it kind of disables you from believing that you can actually accomplish what they've accomplished. Which is why it's very important to me to always maintain on this channel that I am an idiot. I am not going to give any of you an excuse to not learn, or at least try to learn, how to do what it is that I do. And that's the idea. Get more people fixing things, get more people learning, get more MacBooks out of landfills. Even though a small part of me would kind of like to throw MacBooks into landfills, that is an internal conflict, and that does not really serve my customer. So I don't see anything that's obvious here. Do you guys? You let me know if you see something that kind of sticks out there. I don't see anything that sticks out yet. Okay, I do see some minor imperfections here in manufacturing. I paid $5 to tell you it's pronounced like the animal gazelle. Thank you for the great content. Thank you for reminding me that I don't know how to speak English, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I hope you are having a lovely evening, and I hope you are learning something from my horrible board repair. So over here what you have is a solder ball. Now, I don't believe that this solder ball has anything to do with my problem, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a mental note. Solder balls often happen when you have too much power going through an area or a chip die. That's a current sense resistor, so I don't think there's any problem with the current sense resistor. I would imagine just take note that maybe more power than what should have passed through that at one point in time. I'm just going to make a mental note of it. I'm not going to write it down. It's not worth writing down. It's just worth making a mental note of it. And that resistor just seems to be for VCCIO. That's a part of the CPU that gets powered up before CPU vCore gets powered up to allow it to negotiate how much voltage it wants from the regulator, which means, Okay, so that's just this one little sign that CPU may have been gonzo. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that has to have happened. It's just a hint. Again, what we do, everything here is based on hints. We're always working with hints. We don't know. There's no certainty. We also have a solder ball over there. Again, for all this could just be poor manufacturing. Again, we are looking at an Apple product here, and they are not well manufactured a lot of the time. So that could be the case. You really can't know. So that is for pp3v3_g3hot_rtc. But again, it's not going to be anything around this area that has a problem, because as we went over previously, the issue was with pp-g3hot not being present, not with this. So there's really no reason to blame this. So we're just going to continue going. And again, we might as well get rid of all these solder balls along the way. Really, if we're going to be looking through the board, we might as well get rid of all these little signs. I don't want the machine to leave here just, one problem solved. I want it to leave here actually better than it was when it left the Foxconn factory or wherever the hell that they make this thing. Every single one of those solder balls that I see, I don't know, it just kind of symbolizes like the tears of a crying child worker that's working all day long to pump these things out so that Apple stock can go up. Okay, so there's nothing visual. Maybe I'm losing my touch, but I don't see any. That's a big solder blob. And again, this is right by CPU vCore. Yeah, this is not very nice. That's a lot of solder balls for this board. I'm used to seeing maybe 0 to 1. Like 3 of them is something else. Yeah. Now, again, it could not be a manufacturing thing. That could simply be something that occurred while it was, while it was failing, while PP Bus G3 Hot was shorting to ground. And again, the reason I'm spending so much time looking for it is because I have an incentive structure to not solder a wire to the board and figure it out. Oh my God, look, another one? Oh, look at this cap bank over here. Why, God. Holy look at that. One. There's a solder blob on literally every single... Oh, what the wow. I really did. I haven't done this for a while, so I almost forgot how much Apple products suck. Oh my God. What is this shit? Okay, I don't think I could use this as a diagnostic tool anymore because they're everywhere. There's too much of it. Oh man. I really didn't plan to say something about Apple in this video. I really didn't. I was just going to fix a board. Oh my God, this is so fucked. Okay, so all those solder blobs are by caps for NAND power. Oh, no. No. I hope you backed up your data. Oh, man. Okay. That's because the drive is soldered to the board. Oh, jeez. Oh, okay. So many solder blobs. Okay, so it looks like we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. Stop being lazy, as they would say, and start actually doing some work. There is a quality shortage going on here, Mr. Kopaz. There is indeed. And we are going to figure it out. We're going to fix it, though. So what I'm going to do is I am going to turn on the power supply. And once we turn on the power supply, what I'm hoping is that we can inject a volt into the board and something will get hot. And once something gets hot, we can run something called the Owie Test. The Owie Test is... Oh, crap. One sec. I gotta disconnect the power supply because I'm using Linux. I can't actually change the power supply from here. I gotta... Come on, you piece of... There we go. Voltage. Okay. I'm going to put this at 1.2 volts so that if it's going to the CPU, I'm not going to kill anything. Okay. So what we're going to do here, take the ground. Ground can honestly just go to really any ground point on the board. And then we're going to take this, and we're going to solder it to where PP Bus G3 Hot is in the board. First thing I have to do is grab my fume extractor back. It's been stolen from me, being used on a student last week that Paul was teaching. But this fume extractor has to go back to its rightful place, serving me where it belongs. Extracting my fumes. Now what we're going to do is we are going to find... the first thing we have to do is figure out why the power supply is on. Software is on. So we are going to send some power through this fuse, and we're going to want to see what comes out on the other end of it. What gets warm? What gets warm? I don't know about solder glue. I've never used solder glue in my life. A laser soldier sounds scary. If they make soldiers that can shoot lasers out of their eye, like Superman, we're fucked. Okay. So, take over. Now I gotta find my red wire. I have my red wire right next to me, and it disappeared. Aha! Here we go. We're gonna solder this on there. Good enough for rock and roll. It's a temporary joint anyway. Okay. And how many amps does it take? Oh, my ground wire came off. No worries, no big deal. We're just going to reattach the ground. Ooh! 4 amps. Okay, 4.5 amps, 1.2 volts. We're probably looking at 5 watts. That's going to be nice and warm. I'm hoping it's not the CPU for obvious reasons, because if it's the CPU, then, well, this goes to Chris. So this is something that doesn't... This is not going to need a thermal cam. This is going to be obvious. Let's see. I think it's something over here. Yow! Okay, so it's something over there. The Owie test has been vindicated. So we're going to look over here. All right. Now I'm going to turn off the power supply, or I'm just going to unplug something, and we are going to put some alcohol over there. Again, I can't use my other thermal camera because I am using Linux right now. It uses some weird Chinesium software that I'm very lucky that I even have this thing working on Windows, much less Linux. So we're just going to take some alcohol and toss it on the board in this area, and then we're going to see what gets warm. Well, wherever the alcohol evaporates, that's typically where our problem is. Now again, this is something that is not as good as a thermal camera. If you're looking at an iPhone board and you're injecting like 1 volt and it's taking 100 or milliamps or something. But for 5 amps at 1 volt, it's going to show up and become obvious very soon. So 3, 2, and okay. Now do you see what I see? There's a discolored capacitor over here. And you see how there's 4 caps and one of these caps is not like the other? So there's 2 things that you may notice about the capacitor all the way to the right. The first thing you may notice is that it has an internal bleeding. See that? Internal bleeding. And the third is that it has some scuff marks over here that this one, and this one don't have. So I'm going to take a guess that it's you. I'm going to zoom in real quick, and let's just do that again. Confirm my theory. Yeah, that cap over there looks like it's our culprit. See how it's the one to dry off first before the others? So what we're going to do is I'm going to knock that cap off the board, and I'm going to see if that fixes the problem. Now, this is where, again, not doing this for a little bit got me screwed up, because when we looked over the board, I said that I didn't see anything that looked visually damaged, yet that's obvious. That's clear visible damage. I mean, I should not even have to take out a multimeter to fix this board. The fact that a multimeter had to be taken out to fix this board, or a schematic, is just a sign of my being out of touch with this as a profession. Because this, like you could see it clear as day. So when we now here's the thing to note. You notice how when that capacitor gets knocked off the board, it's no longer taking amperage. But if I were to have it make contact with the board again like this, it does. So this is the cause of our short. And when we knock it off the board is going to work again. So I am going to put another capacitor there. We're going to have to be very careful soldering it in because we got a BGA chip over here, so we're going to have to cover that with something. I typically tend to use iPhone shields or a box cutter to cover that so that this does not get heated when I'm heating what I want to heat. I only want to heat what I want to heat. I don't want to lower the life of any of those BGA chips by heating things I'm not supposed to heat. That's one of those things that you'll never really know until a customer comes back 9 months later with an SSD that doesn't work, or 2 years later with an SSD doesn't work. And admittedly, the customer may not even know that the reason it didn't work is because of how you put too much heat on a BGA chip next to it while you were doing the original job. So these are all things that you got to think about, and you have to be very careful. You can't remove solder pads like that there are certain devices where you just can't do that. They'll come off the board immediately. You need to know the device you're working on in order to do things like that. So when I do things like that are kind of rough, it's because I've worked on this board like 1,000 times. So I know what I can get away with on this board versus what I can't. But there are many other devices where the solder pads would immediately come off the moment you did that. Also, you see this over here, the old, well, you can't see it now, but you probably could if you rewind it. The old capacitor piece came off over there. Yeah, so the old capacitor, the little piece that was left of it, came off the board, and that is that. So that is the end of that little thing. Yes, we did, GM TAC. Yes, we did. That is... Okay. So, we do this. And over here. So we've removed all the old solder, or depending on your pronunciation in this chat, soldier, soldier. I don't know why people call solder soldier. The solder doesn't fight for you. And we are going to take our shield and put it over the chip that's next door. And while we're heating this, we don't want to heat what's under there. So we do this. Just a small precaution. Now granted, there's a good chance that you're not going to do damage if you are careful with your hot air, where you're pointing it, if you're careful with the airflow and the temperature that you use, then you don't have to worry about that very much. But it's always good to have just an extra level of protection. Don't be that guy that says, I'm going to pull out. Like, just don't. Have a condom. You know what's even better? You have a condom, and she's on birth control. Like, that's a winner chicken dinner right there. You want as many forms of protection as is humanly possible. Unless you want a kid. But again, that's your business, not mine. I'm just fixing your MacBook. I'm not here to give you reproductive advice. But it's good to have redundancy. Okay. So, we are going to take a capacitor. We are going to put it right over there. And then this board will turn on. You'll see 20 volts in the charger, 500 milliamps, and victory. Now, flow into place. Oh, that is smooth and satisfying how that flowed into place, wasn't it? That was beautiful. We're going to make it look like stock. This is going to look like factory. It doesn't matter how shaky my hand is. It doesn't matter how inaccurate I am with how I put it down. But at the end of the day, you have the little techniques, little things that make it easy to make things look beautiful. So we got a little bit, just enough flux there to be able to flow this into place. Yeah. All right. So we're going to let this cool down for a moment and remove the shield that I had that was covering the BGA chip to the side. Put this donor to the side as well. Now, with what's over here, what we're going to do is we're going to see if it takes 20 volts. That's low. So what do we have? I'm going to guess 20 volts, 500 milliamps. What do you all say? You have a different signature? Okay, 200 milliamps, that's a different signature. 20 volts. 20 volts. Come on. Yeah, over 500 milliamps. It's booting, baby. Yeah! All right, that is beautiful. Look at that. So that is a fixed MacBook right there. So on this machine, it's really weird. I think I stopped doing board repair videos when we started fixing more A1989s. On this one, it looks like PP-Bus G3 hot. It shows up before PP3v3 underscore G3 hot underscore RTC, which is needed for the CD3215. So they changed the order a little bit. But that shouldn't mess you up too much. As long as you're open to following the flow of what's going on in the circuit, that's not something that should really be a big issue for you. You see that this is a rail that's needed for us to get 20 volts. This is what's needed for the CD3215 to be able to speak to the USB-C charger. Okay, what power all turns it on? Let's find that. Okay, why is that rail not present? Is it shorted? Is it not being enabled? Is it missing its input? This is all stuff that's in my free board repair guide, which you could find in the description down below. 150-page guide to motherboard repair, going over all the basics and the troubleshooting tactics. We go up the chain. We see, oh, it's PP-Vin, PP3V3, that's missing. Oh, where does that come from? That comes from PP-Bus G3 hot. Okay, that's missing. Why is it missing? Short to ground. Let's find the short to ground. We found it, we fixed it, and it works again. This would actually be considered a fairly simple board repair in contrast to what's usually in Paul, Chris, and Dan's queue, which might just be why I recorded it. But you'll never know that because this is going to get edited out of the main channel video. Like magic. No one will ever know. All right. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. I have a laptop that when cold booted, the Wi-Fi card doesn't work. I turn it off and on and backing on again for it to work. Oh, fuck that. That's going to suck. Intermittent issues like that suck balls. How do you know, like, how do you ever know what the issue is if it only shows up a couple, half the time or only under these conditions? Yeah, I have no advice for troubleshooting that. I'm sorry. That's going to suck. Like, you can replace the Wi-Fi card, but how do you know if that fixes it? Because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. That's going to suck. Okay. Why does my 2012 MacBook Pro Bluetooth randomly go out? I don't know, because it's random. You're fucked. Sorry, bro. Anything random, you're fucked. Like, that's my stock answer. You're fucked. Unless it's a known issue that happens all the time, then you're fucked. You're fucked. I'm not wearing my mask. I got COVID twice. I got vaccinated twice. I'm in an empty store. I'm not wearing my mask. I would be a super spreader to all of the probably mice and cockroaches that live in the walls over here. I'll give all those mice and cockroaches COVID. I haven't increased my workout routine, but I have increased my cardio to, I added an hour a day to my existing exercise routine with cardio. Check this out. I actually can't wear my old belt anymore because it doesn't fit. So this is my pants. Like, this is the amount of space that's available in my pants now. This is crazy. Like, look at this. You could literally fit a screwdriver in here. Screwdriver. Pants. Cray. Yeah. I still have a lot of weight to lose, but I've been working on it because it's so easy to get out of shape just sitting here all fucking day. It's just like sitting in a microscope all day is so fucking unhealthy. Doing YouTube videos is so fucking unhealthy. Like this entire, every aspect of my life is really, it's not healthy. I'm not moving around regularly. I'm not a bricklayer. I'm not a delivery person or something. So, yeah, I added an hour of cardio to it. My pulse is usually 140 to 150 for the entire hour, assuming that the thingy I'm using to read my pulse is correct. I put it all the way up to like where I'm almost about to die, and then I lower it by like 3 or 4%. So I've accepted that I've accepted that eating barbecue isn't healthy. Is that a question or is that a statement? I don't know. I don't eat the carbs section, but I don't. I realized that I hit a plateau a long time ago, and me trying to be able to actually lift more weight for strength is just a fucking waste of my time. It's just not going to happen. Like if it does, fine, great. Like I got really fast up to being able to bench press 225 4 times. That took like a year or two. Then to get from doing 225 4 times to being able to do it 7 to 9 times, that took like another 7 to 9 years. And then anything after that is it's like sometimes I'm a little below that, sometimes I'm there, sometimes below that, sometimes there, sometimes below that, sometimes there. So like I realize I'm not going to get above it. Or like with deadlifts. Like I hit a record when I could do 300-pound deadlift 9 times. That's my record, 9 times. And then like once I hit it and I go, okay, next week I'm going to try to do 10, I wind up going to the bar and I can only do 4. And then I got to spend months working my way back up to 9. And when I finally get to 9, I try to do it again, and then I can only do 5. It's like with all of my weightlifting exercises, I've recognized that I'm just at the limit of what my body can do. I was about 103 pounds when I was a senior in high school. 5'6", 103 pounds. That's a fucking joke. Like that's a stick figure. So I've gotten as buff as I can get for the pathetic body that I was born with. Now what I'd like to focus on is, okay, I would like to keep what I have there, but now let me see if I can, get rid of all the excess crap. And I'm working on it. And it's actually working. So this is my pants. This is crazy. And I haven't changed my pant size since high school. Actually, I was like a 30, I think. And then now I'm like a 32-30. I've been a 32-30 my entire time. So I'm actually at a point where I'm going back to my height. I may just wind up going back to the pant size that I had as a junior in high school instead of a senior, which is absolutely crazy. So I'm happy. I went from 150, 400 in 9 months my sophomore year. What do you mean, why so long? I'm confused. What is WTF, why so long? I don't understand. I'm very confused. Oh, you're bragging, like as in like, oh, I got stronger faster than you. I don't know. Go fuck. Gargle my balls. With yes. Enjoy. Oh, it was a joke, sarcasm. I missed it, Aaron. I'm sorry. Yes, you lift more. Great. Like, I bet your dick is 12 inches too. I'm sure there's somebody that will validate you on that. Maybe Joe Rogan give training advice when Lewis is eventually going to go on the... I'm never going to go on Joe Rogan. That's never going to happen. Like, that's never going to happen. I've asked like three or four times over the past 4 years. I'm not going to spam somebody, That's just disrespectful. It's disrespectful to spam people. No, seriously, it shouldn't take that long. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah. I get it. You're strong. Enjoy. Wait a second. Going from 150 to 400, like you weigh 400 pounds? That's crazy. I'm confused. Do you mean benching 400, deadlifting 400, or you personally as a human being weigh 400? I'm very confused. I'm highly confused. I'm very... That's weird. Like I was 103 pounds as a senior in high school, and then I made my way up to like 130 or 140 pounds very quickly, in terms of my personal weight. That only took like a year and a half to do. But like after that, I kind of got 90% of the gains I'm gonna get during the year and a half that I was in high school. So I remember trying to bench press 65 pounds and the bar falling on me, and then within a year and a half, I could bench press 215 as my max. That was cool. So I went from I couldn't bench press 65 pounds to I can bench press 215. But then once I got to the point of bench pressing 215, that was in 2006. By 2008, I got from a max bench of 215 to I could bench press 225 4 times, which was cool. But then I had a plateau again. And then it literally took from 2008 to like 2015 or 17 to being able to do 225 4 times to being able to do it 7 and 9 times. But such is life. I don't know. I'm tiny. It is what it is. I make up for the small dick and small muscles, but big MacBook repair brain. I make up for, let's see, less Olive Garden. I've only eaten Olive Garden once. But yeah, one of the rules that I made for myself for 2022 is any day that I'm awake, I do 1 hour of cardio. If I wake up that day, I do an hour of cardio. And one thing that's made it easy or consistent is I just choose the same machine, like the same shit. And I'm happy with it. I'm happy. Progress is progress. I am better today than I was yesterday. This whole thing is pointless, Guzel. I had a trainer for 2.5 years. Like I'm aware of where I can go and where I'm limited. I'm much more interested in boosting my cardio health. I would like to run and I do cardio at a gym in Nashua, Aaron, in New Hampshire. I can't run outside because it was negative 15 degrees the last time I was there, and if I went running outside, I would die. My blood would freeze. I can't run in New Hampshire. That's let's see. You're gonna make me log into Twitch. That's okay. Okay, it's like, let's see. How does this work? Here we go. You made me log into Twitch for this, but it's worth it. All right, GTFO. Let's see. You don't want to blow out your joints. I've never broken my joints. And I'm using an elliptical. It's like one of these ellipticals where you do this instead of running. My dad has had 7 knee surgeries and he had them replaced. My grandpa had fucked up knees, and I don't know if it's genetic or not, but I don't see the point in risking it. So for the hour, so I do the hour. I'm not doing an hour of jogging or an hour of running. I'm doing an hour of an elliptical. Just because I don't want to fuck up my knees. I don't know if my knees are the same as my dad's, and I don't want to find out by getting replacements. Knee replacement surgery is painful. Nebraska right to repair bill advances. I saw. Tom Brandt is kicking ass. I'm really proud of that dude. I'm proud of that dude. One of the things that helped was beta-alanine. That stuff is like crack. Oh my God. When you take beta-alanine, you either A, need to lift a massive amount of weight, or B, murder somebody. It's like one of them is gonna happen. You know, I suggest that lifting. But anybody ever take beta-alanine and just feel their face like vibrating with rage? That stuff is amazing. That is something else. Everything in your body just feels like it's filled up with anger and rage and tingling. You feel tingling everywhere. Yeah, I'm not doing running for an hour. Fuck that. I'm old. I'm getting old. So what I do is I use an elliptical like a boomer. But I don't even care. Someone can make fun of me. Ah ha ha, you're using a girly elliptical machine. Whatever. One person that was actually making fun of me for using that machine. And it's like, okay. You know, when you're coughing up a lung in a hospital when the Ligma variant of COVID comes out, we'll see. We'll see. I don't really care how I get the cardio in. I don't give a shit if it's using a girly machine. I want to keep my knees. I like my original knees. I like my OEM knees. I don't want aftermarket knees. Fuck that. No offense, I love my dad, but I don't want aftermarket knees. Like, that was a very good lesson that I got from him. I like the knees that I came with, and I want to continue to use the knees that I came with. I like them. I don't know if they're fucked up or not. Then again, I do squats and deadlifts, but squats and deadlifts are different, you know? Squats and deadlifts, like, it's not a repetitive movement, you know? Like, if I put 255 pounds in the bar and I try to do 5 to 10 reps of squats, that's 5 or 10 reps for like 2 sets. That's different, or 3 sets. That's different than, you know, doing this for, you know, an hour or so. And I think it's the repetitiveness of it that really screws you in the end. The repetitiveness gets you. I'm afraid of that. My dad loves surgery. He's the opposite of me. I mean, they have a little fucking camera that they put in. They put 3 holes in his knee. This is before the knee replacement. This is when they were working on trying to fix his old board rather than replace the board with a new one. When they were trying to fix the board in his knee, they put a camera into. They poked 3 holes and they put a camera in there. And it was a some local anesthetic, so he didn't feel it. And he was looking at it, like he was actually watching on camera as they were digging little things out of his knee. Oh my! I would actually die. I'm too squeamish for that. He's just watching them do board repair inside his body. Gah! I would have died from puking up all the liquids that were left in my body. Well, what I do is I do weights Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I do cardio Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So like Monday, I'll do, on Monday, I will do 2 heavy sets of squats, 2 heavy sets of bench, like 255 pounds times 10 or 275 times 7 or something like that. 2 heavy squats, 2 heavy bench press, like 255 times 3 or 255 times 4, and keep trying to move it up. 2 bent over rows, 2 sets of skull crushers, 2 sets of curls. Tuesday, muscles rest, but I do cardio, and also Monday I do cardio. Wednesday, I'll do 1 heavy set of deadlifts. I only keep it at 1 because it really fucks with your central nervous system. It's very fatiguing. So if I do like 5 or 6 sets of deadlifts, it'll fuck me up for everything else. On Wednesday, I'll do a set of heavy deadlifts, like 9 reps of 300. I'll do shoulder press. I'll do 1 or 2 heavy sets of shoulder press. I'll do 2 sets of bent over rows, 2 sets skull crushers, 2 sets curls, and then cardio for an hour. Thursday, just cardio for an hour. Friday, I will go back to doing workout A, which is 2 heavy sets of squats, 2 heavy sets of bench press, 2 heavy sets of bent over row, 2 heavy sets of curls, 2 heavy sets of skull crushers. And then on Monday, I'll do 1 heavy set of deadlifts, 2 heavy sets of shoulder press, and so on and so forth. So I have workout A, B, A. Next week, B, A, B on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then A, B, A, B, A, B. And I prefer to do like a full body one. I don't do today is bench day, today is squat day, today is deadlift day. One of the things that I noticed after I had gotten to a certain point was I don't need to do 5 to 10 sets of the exact same workout to actually get the effect. You can, most of the work that goes into building your muscle, it happens on set 1 and 2. You can do 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 sets with the same muscle, but it's very diminishing returns. So what I noticed is I don't get much more gain from it, but I do get a lot of delayed onset muscle soreness and the inability to work out again later, which I don't really like that. I don't want the delayed on. I'm in my 30s. I don't feel like going, ow, because I did this, because I did 8 sets of bench press the day before, or I'm going to get up and it's like, because I did 8 sets of squats at 250. Like, no, fuck that. So I'm pretty much, I want to maintain the strength that I have, so that's what I do. I can get the weights out of my way really quickly. Like, I could be in and out of the gym. With that routine, I'm in and out of the gym in 20 minutes, like before I go on a cardio. And then I do the hour of cardio. I'm really looking to improve in the cardio section. I want to see if I can keep the level of strength I have now, but go from 172 pounds down to like 151 or something, or 150. I already made it down to 163, so I made it from 172 to 163. I want to see if I can keep it going. And I haven't really lost much. I tried to bench today. I was able to do 255 bench press for a set of 3. Squats I'm a little weak on. Squats and deadlifts I kind of fuck myself on a little bit. But that, it's kind of ebbs and flows. Anyway, let me see what I have in chat before I move on to the next MacBook. Spent 15 years in an airport loading luggage. My back hasn't been the same since. Ouch. Yeah, the thing is, when when your work is your workout, there's a tendency to move fast and try to like take shortcuts and get it done quickly because it's not for pleasure. It's like 8 hours a day of quick. So you may wind up making movements that are not healthy for you. And I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. I probably would do the same thing. Lifting 200 pounds 10 times is a lot more work than taking 5,000 steps. You're disagreeing with a straw man, though. See, there's a difference between how much work you're doing and the repetitive damage of doing this. So when you run, you're doing this. There's an impact. So like 10,000 impacts is going to hurt your knee more than just doing squats. You know, correct repeating without randomization. Huh. Not an impact movement, hard. Let's do border pair while chugging high stim pre-workout. No, fuck that. I avoid most pre-workouts because they have caffeine in them. I do not want any sort of supplements that have caffeine in them. Caffeine royally fucks up my brain. I become a paranoid, anxious, very on edge, very unhealthy person when I have caffeine, so I avoid caffeine. I heard from a strongman competitor the risk reward when deadlifting isn't worth it. I don't mind it. DOMs is not a sign of gains. Correct. People used to think that if I don't have DOMs, then I didn't get a real workout in. That's bullshit. You can easily progress, and you can also easily progress without having DOMs. You could deadlift 3 times a week and make actual progression without that, oh God, somebody stabbed my hamstring feeling. I don't really give a fuck about them trying to get rid of Joe Rogan. I think he needs to get the fuck off Spotify. It's a sinking ship. Spotify is at that point where they're consoling their employees and having those, I don't know what they call it, like those sessions where it's like, we've spoken to our employees who are really bothered by this being on the platform. It's like they don't care about the N-word. They're using that as an excuse to get rid of somebody that they already wanted to get rid of. And it's very obvious and anybody can see it. I don't agree with everything Joe Rogan says. I don't think everything he says is great. But just I dislike the people that are trying to get rid of him more than I actually dislike Joe Rogan. I don't trust them. I don't trust their incentives. I don't trust their motives, and I don't trust them as human beings. Again, like, you know, some of the shit that they say about COVID on that show is stupid. Some of it I agree with. Some of it I think that's pseudoscience bullshit, but if you don't like again, it's a self-proclaimed pothead stoner talks to random people, you know? Like, if you don't want it, turn it off. If you don't like it, turn it off. He has a lot of good shows, though. I've never met anyone who says you can progress with no soreness. Seems unrealistic. What? You do not need delayed onset muscle soreness in order to progress. That's crazy. You do not need delayed onset muscle soreness in order to progress. Anyway. I also think that with Spotify, what they're doing is they're making it seem like the Joe Rogan controversy is what's affecting their stock rather than the actual fact that they're not a successful company. Like, their stock was worth over $70 billion a while ago. That's fucking insane. That's not real. That's ridiculous. So they can make it seem like, oh, well, you know, this is because of all the canceling thing with Joe Rogan, even though it went down 30 or 40% before there was Joe Rogan on the front. That's the thing. I don't need to agree with everything Joe Rogan says or even like him as a human being to not trust the motives and incentive structures are the people that are like, oh my God. And it's this, I don't know what it is. It's this dislike for this finger wagging thing where people are like, people may die if you say the wrong. See, you said this thing. Because you said this thing, people are going to take it in the worst possible way because they can't think for themselves. And then you're going to harm society. So we need to shut you up before you harm society. I don't like that very much. And the thing is, yes, there's probably a lot of people that are listening to Joe Rogan that are dipshits. I see my comment section on YouTube. I'm fully aware of the average intelligence of people that post comments on the internet. They're not smart. They're really, really, really fucking dumb. I mean, just read through my comment. Read through any comment section. Read through a comment section on ABC videos on YouTube. Read through a comment section of most major newspapers. That's horrible. It's really, really, really stupid. But I think that the negative consequence to society to try to whack-a-mole and shut every single person up is going to be worse. That's my argument. That it's not even that everything that Joe Rogan says is correct. It's that this whole whack-a-mole thing of let's try and figure out what content we allow, what we don't, what we're going to police is going to end. The end result of that is going to be worse. Now, do I think Joe Rogan has some sort of responsibility as somebody with a platform of his size to, if somebody's talking total bullshit, maybe have somebody else on? Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think he could do that. And I would be for, what I would say is, I would not advocate for him to be removed from the platform. I wouldn't advocate for him to be removed as a human being. I wouldn't advocate for, his show to not exist. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I think that he personally should make the choice to have other people on when you have somebody on who's discussing something from a more radical point of view. Have the opposite on to kind of balance it out a little bit. He did that with Twitter. He had Jack Dorsey on, but then he also had Jack Dorsey on with somebody else, or to kind of like go back and forth and ask a little bit tougher questions. I remember that because a lot of people hated that first stream that he did. Where was I? But the soreness is delayed soreness when you're talking about gain. Again, so soreness, delayed onset muscle soreness is when you work out on Monday, and by the end of Monday or Tuesday, it's like, I feel that stretch from bench pressing. You have that if you do 5 or 10 sets of bench press. But if you do bench press and literally right after you're sore, like again, you did your bench press at 8 p.m. and then at 8:10 p.m. you're sore, I would dare say that's not only are you not getting gains, you're probably actually hurting yourself. You're not supposed to be sore literally the moment when you're done. I have never had that. In 16 years of lifting weights, I have never felt like literally right after I did it, ow. It's always been the next day, or if I worked out at like 7 in the morning, I would feel the soreness. Let's say, I don't know, if I worked out at 6 or 7 a.m., maybe by 7 p.m. I'd feel it. But I've never felt soreness like right after. That actually sounds like a health problem. There's one time that I felt sore right after, and my trainer immediately called me out on what I did. I accidentally, without noticing it, used my bicep a little bit for a deadlift, and he told me that you will rip the bicep off of your arm. You will literally just rip everything apart. Never do that again. He pointed out what I did wrong. He tried to give me an example of what I did wrong with a really low weight so that he wouldn't damage his own bicep, and then I never did it again. But that was the only time I ever felt sore immediately after an exercise. Soreness right after an exercise is fucking horrible. If you're sore 12 hours later, 24 hours later, 30 hours later with the delayed onset muscle soreness, that's understandable. But if you're sore, like I did this set of bench press, and now, my chest hurts, there's something's fucked up there. You should feel, again, if you feel blood going to that area, you feel a pump, that's different than feeling sore. But again, you should talk to a personal trainer, because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just making this stuff up as I go. I'm just a guy that only has a max of 285 pounds on bench press after all this time. Never made it to 3 plates. It's actually shameful. I never made it to 3 plates. I always wanted to bench 3 plates for sets of 15, or even a set of 1. I was really hoping by my 30s I'd be at 3 plates, but such is life. Maybe in my 40s. Maybe in my 40s. I've never done TRT or any sort of steroid. I exercise because I want to be healthier, and that stuff risks your health because you could have organs grow or all sorts of weird shit that shouldn't happen. Like when you have people dying with enlarged hearts, or then there's always somebody who says, well, they just weren't doing it properly or they were doing it too much. And I have a bit of an addictive personality, so I'm confident if I started doing steroids, I would do way too many, and then I'd be dead. I believe you realize why you're not getting stronger. Form is important in deadlifts, but building strength will make you sore. It's inevitable. I recommend a new trainer. Dude, that actually... Okay, I appreciate the $5, and thank you for the $5, but that's so fucking wrong. I'm sorry. This is... You should not feel an actual sense of immediate soreness right after you work out. Like, if you actually feel legit, honest-to-God soreness the moment as you right after you work out, there's something wrong. I would argue that you've actually torn something. I've had several different trainers in the past. I have never had like a feeling of I'm actually sore right after. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. Not even for strength, no. Even when I've had to do 8 sets of deadlifts, I did not feel soreness in my hamstring or my glutes until the next day. Like, just no, that's... I don't swim. The water here is really, really disgusting. The East River has dead bodies in it. There's a lake in New Hampshire, but it's -15, so you can't swim in that lake without melting it. And that takes a lot of energy that I don't have. If I took some of the lithium-ion batteries out of my car and tossed them on the lake and cut them up, maybe I'd be able to. But then I'd be swimming in toxic chemicals. That would be bad. I've never done weed, Red Sly. Never smoked it. Okay, where am I? All right, everybody, how's it going? So over here, it looks like what we have is a MacBook. It's kind of a dirty MacBook. It's a filthy MacBook. Let's see if we can figure out what's wrong with this MacBook and make it work again. Turn the power supply up to... It's not about that, Goozle. It's just your argument is fundamentally incorrect. You're saying that I've made no gains because of that, but I went from being able to bench press 65 pounds and have the weights fall off to being able to do 285. And in that period of time, I did not have, quote, soreness immediately after. Do you feel a pump? Yes. But the delayed onset muscle soreness is what you feel a day later. It's not what you feel literally right in the moment. That's insane. That's actually fucking insane. Like, I could actually put 300 pounds in the bar right now. Do a negative rep like this. Try to push it as much as I can. Have it fail. Have somebody help me lift it up, and I will not feel sore. The only way you're feeling sore is if you actually hurt yourself. Either way. Where was I? Okay. So, MacBook. Oh, video. Recording. Recording? Recording. No, this has to be off. Hey, everybody. How's it going? So today, we are going to be... Oh, my God. Okay. I said you peaked because you were more worried, but no, I was not. Okay, so I literally only started this routine of not caring about DOMs. Or not trying to go to DOMs. I started that routine in 2020. I spent like 2017, 18, 19 doing the whole, like, I'm going to do 5 or 8 sets of this and all that other stuff. Anyway, this is a pointless conversation at this point. You have your viewpoint, I have mine, and I'm not going to change it. But what bothers me is you're trying to change it by using shit that's not true about me. You don't know when I stopped doing that. But anyway, MacBook, edit. Okay. Start recording. I want to do minimal fucking editing because I'm very lazy nowadays. Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we are going to fix a MacBook. So here, I'm going to plug it in, see how many amps it's taking, and what do you know? 0.012. Let's see what this is for. Let's see where we are. So let's see what the purpose, what's going on here. So can you tell me what you see? Because I see water on SMC Reset and PP3V42. PP3V42 is what is necessary to get a green light. And SMC Reset is required for the SMC to turn on so that it charges the MacBook. So, I think this one may actually be an easy one. Okay. The SSD connector has food on it. Or bug shit. One or the other. Either way, I'm going to be washing my hands before I touch anything else when I'm done with this computer. Because this is gross. Huh, Hi is here. I see he's trying to distract himself from the homework that he's supposed to be doing. Hi. He is distracting himself from homework that he's probably supposed to be doing. I would get a board heater, Lemon Lust. Don't use Chip Quick. Don't. Okay, wait. Don't use Chip Quick. Firstly, you're supposed to use Chip Quick to help you in removing the old solder. You're not actually supposed to use Chip Quick to solder the new. But I tend to not like Chip Quick in general for that type of stuff. I would just get a board heater. You're going to need it eventually. Or what you could do if you don't have the ability to have a board heater, put your board in an oven and heat it to about, I would say, like 100 Celsius, just 100 Celsius. Not enough to melt solder, not even close, but enough that the board itself is preheated and all the tough layers in the board are going to already be preheated and then get to work. If you don't want to buy a preheater, then if you don't want to buy a preheater or waste money on it in the beginning, that's what I would do. I would what I would do, I forgot what I was saying in the middle of the sentence. Okay, I don't remember what I was talking about, but I'm sure it'll come back to me later. Where was I? Do I see someone's nail? Probably. I wouldn't be surprised if you had nails in here. There's no problem with putting a board in an oven if you're not putting the board in the oven for the purposes of reflowing or soldering something. At least when we're talking about this. I mean, you could literally do this in a kitchen oven. You could just use, 100 Celsius or 212 Freedom Units and just have the board heated up just enough that when you get to do your normal soldering on it, it's a little bit easier everything just kind of comes off a little easier. And the benefit to that is that you're not going to be using as much heat as you otherwise would be using if you were, if the board was not already heated. On each individual chip. So for instance, the board is going to be absorbing the heat as I'm heating the chip, right? So if the chip itself is really, really cold and the board is cold, even if I'm putting 500 Celsius on top of this chip, I'm burning the chip, but all of the heat is being absorbed by the board at the solder joint, so I'm not going to actually melt the solder joints. I am still destroying the top of the chip. I'm killing this chip by doing that. So you want to have the board kind of at a temperature that allows you to use the lowest possible temperature you need to desolder the chip itself or to work on the component that you're working on, which is why I don't immediately hotter the boards like this. So one thing you may notice a lot of the time is I'll heat from here, and then here, and then here. That's kind of like localized preheating of the board rather than just doing this. Like you almost never see me do this. The only time I do something like this is when I'm looking to remove something, that when there's something around it that I don't want to heat, and I know whatever it is that I'm heating, I'm throwing away. Okay, we're going to take the drive out. We have all those little pokey solder joints on the battery. That's fine. I'm a brave man. A brave man. Okay. So everything's out of the machine. And again, my guess is that this is just going to be a really basic one. Just a really, really It's easy breezy, super easy. Just a little bit of adjustment and maybe even reflowing without on the Jtag we're going to remove. And we're just going to reflow this. And honestly, I even think a reflow of that may just do it. I really think the corrosion is just shorting everything. This looks like one of those cases where actually just a reflow and a little bit of filing might fix everything. Just a little bit of Amtech flux, you know, just the right amount of flux. 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 I've never had luck with flux pens, but when you say flux pen, since you haven't given me a brand, model, or any of that stuff, it's very general. So the first thing we do is remove the Jtag connector. Nothing good comes from Jtag connectors. This allows somebody at the Apple facility to plug in the device to get an idea of what's going on with it, or to program the BIOS. I don't know. I don't get access to fun stuff for the Jtag connector, so why should they? But seriously, this is a liability, because what that little connector does over there is it's a point that can be corroded. It kind of amplifies the potential chances of getting corroded because you got all the copper and everything in the connector, and it winds up shorting things together that don't need to be shorted together. So I prefer to get rid of it. I don't really care if these pads are good because they're not going anything anymore. I just care that there's no potential for shorting between them. I don't want BIOS pins or pads getting shorted to ground. I don't want PP3V42 or SMC Reset or anything else that could be construed as important to getting shorted as a result of this Jtag existing. So I'm just going to get rid of the solder on all of those. Also, one thing to make sure of while you're doing this is that you do not remove the solder from the SPI-ROM resistors that are right above it. That will be bad for you. Bad for you. Bad. Now, I do not use Jtags. I do not like Jtags. You can't wick with a micro pencil. That's just freaking ridiculous. I don't know why I actually expected that to work. Okay, so two things that need to be done here. A reflowing of the PP3V42_G3 hot area to ensure that there's no corrosion shorting things like this over here. See that? I'm going to have to turn up the HDR a little bit for you to see that. Okay, there you go. See this over here? Admittedly, that probably doesn't need a reflow. It just needs, just moving. Anyway, you have board blood on the bottom over there. See that red stuff? That's board blood. I may go over that with a Q-tip in a moment. And then we have the SMC Reset Chip over here. I believe this will actually turn on again. Now, if you look on the bottom left corner, you'll see that those two pins in the bottom left corner are shorted together by all that little powder, all that little dust, all the little stuff. And first thing I want to do is I want those solder joints to actually become like proper ones again, and I also want the flux and the heat to clean away all that junk. Now, I don't trust that that's going to do it on that section because that's considerably nastier than the other two. So I'm going to add the proper amount of flux once more, and I'm actually going to go over it like this. Now, this is one area where I respect Joanna Stern at the Wall Street Journal. Lovely, amazing reporter. However, she said that this is not like filing your nails, and as you can see, it is actually just like filing your nails right here. I always file my nails using a T30KN soldering iron at 750 Fahrenheit. Please don't do that at home. I'm kidding. So what this does is I am going to be kind of filling in any void in the old solder I'm going to be getting rid of any junk. If there's any dirt over there, it's going to get burned away in this giant ball of soldery flux. I also got rid of that capacitor over there by accident, but no big deal. We'll just get another one. No big deal. And as you can see, the bottom left 2 pads look beautiful, whereas before they looked horrible. And it's a night and day difference over there compared to what you had before. Turn down the HDR a little bit. Can't get drunk on HDR like that. It's a real night and day difference over there. I don't believe that capacitor is essential. I think that's as essential as Andrew Cuomo's career on this motherboard. I think it may just be a cap to ground for some basic thing, but you know, I still want to put it there, make things nice. It's there for a reason. Might as well put it back. I'm going to get myself a donor board. It looks like all the donors in this office have been stolen since I haven't been here for quite a while, which is understandable. You know, if I don't show up for a few weeks, it makes sense that the stuff that's in there get used for people out here that are doing actual work. Not mad at all at that. The only thing that I'm mad at is that Hi is watching this stream while procrastinating doing his homework. College is what's going to ensure that Hi has better opportunities than working at a repair shop like this or running a repair shop like this when he gets to be my age. And he better pay attention in those classes, lest he wind up like me. Okay, so just going to put that there, and I bet you everything that this is going to work perfectly fine. I see you, Hi. I can actually see you. I see you avoiding your homework. I know you're avoiding your homework. Now watch surface tension. Put that cap into place. That cap is literally exactly where it was when it was soldered on the board by some machine in Shenzhen or Taipei or South Korea or wherever the hell this thing gets done. Made. That is beautiful. That is gorgeous. And you're going to see a fan spin. And this is why the A1466R is so beautiful, because it always fails in these really, really predictable, easy ways to fix. They're very, very, very friendly to repair compared to a lot of other devices. I give it a little bit of time to cool off, just a little bit. The board had some time to cool off when I went over there, but this area that I heated only had a minimal time to cool off since I just heated it again. And I think we should be good to go. Now you're going to see this light turn green, and this is going to turn on. It's going to be like a symphony. See that? This is a symphony. The light is orange, and everything turned on. So let's go over why that would cause us to not have a green light for the millionth time. I will go over that for the millionth time for all of you, for those of you who don't understand this. So I need to go over this on an older board because I can't get you a schematic for the DC-in board on this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find an older board that makes it easy for me to show you the schematic and the board view. And you'll learn something from it. I guarantee you'll learn something from it if you want to pay attention. It's up to you if you pay attention, though. Do you always need flux? Always! Always. You always need copious amounts of flux. Lots of flux. I love flux. I put flux on everything. Put flux on my pizza. Okay, no, I'm not kidding. It's don't put flux on your food. That's actually really bad. Okay, so why are you trying to be my dad, John? It's weird. Okay, so where is U6? Come on. Come on, you little chip. Come on, you little one-wire circuit. Where are you? Here, one wire. Here, one wire, one wire, one wire, one wire, one wire. Where are you, one wire? Can't believe I forgot where the one wire is. Ah, here we go. So, for the light to turn green in the charger, it needs to actually talk to the computer. That's really important here. So let's just get this all on the screen so you can see it really nicely. Okay, I think that's large enough that you can see it properly. So this is the power jack, right? Now, this has three things. 18 volts, ground to complete the circuit, and adapter sense, which is misspelled because, well, Apple. So adapter sends is going to be where the adapter, not adaptor, speaks with the SMC. So this is going to go to this chip over here. Now what does this thing do? It's kind of like a bodyguard. So it's very easy to plug this charger in wrong because it's magnetic. It's not like a barrel jack. So you could accidentally, if somebody's drunk, they could be doing something like, I want to check Facebook and you know, it can end very poorly, because if that happens, if you have somebody who's an idiot and drunk doing that, and let's face it, we've all been drunk and idiots at times in our lives, most likely, you could have 18 volts go to ground, you could have the 18 volts go to the adapter sense line, and again, adapter sense is going to speak to the SMC. So when we go to sys1 wire over here, sys1 wire is going to go straight to a little chip called a system management controller. And it's going to talk to the charger to get the charger to turn on. See this? sys1 wire, U4900, SMC. Now, if instead of a little 2 or 3 volt data line talking to the SMC and saying, hi, I'm a MacBook charger. Are you a real MacBook charger? Yes, I am a real MacBook charger. Turn on. Instead of having a conversation, talking, what happens is it just sends 18 volts. What do you think is going to happen to this little SMC? This little SMC that was expecting a little 2 or 3 volt data line, it's going to get fucked. It's going to get fried. And the way we keep it from getting fried is by having this little bodyguard chip over here, U6900. Now, this little bodyguard chip over here, it needs to actually turn on. It needs to get voltage to turn on so that it can actually do its job and let anything through. So what this does, this is going to get powered by this. What is this? This is a logic gate. This is going to say is if SMC, BC, AC OK is present, then send 3.42 volts out. So you need this power rail, PP342_G3 hot. You need that power rail to be present. If that power rail is not present, then this entire circuit's not going to work and you won't get a green light. And the chip that creates PP342_G3 hot was this corroded chip right over here. That also shows up on this Jtag connector over here. Now, for the SMC, because that's the second part of this equation, when you take a look at the schematic, the system management controller is also of crucial importance here, because it's the thing that actually does the talking. Now, the SMC needs to turn on. And what's going to control it turning on? The SMC Reset Chip. The SMC Reset Chip is going to control this actually turning on. So let's find the SMC Reset Chip right here. All right. SMC Reset Chip is here. So the way this works is you have a little pull-up resistor that ensures that SMC Reset L is always up. Remember, reset is kind of like holding down the reset button on your desktop computer. If you hold it down, the computer's on, but it's not actually doing anything. It's stuck in this purgatory before it's not posted yet, but the hardware is on. And once you take your finger off the reset button, then the reset button will be low. So this is in reset mode when it's high, and it is not in reset mode when it is low. Wait, I got that wrong. Edit, you fuck. _L means that it is in reset mode when it is low. So when the signal is 0 volts or 0.5 volts, it's like hitting your reset button. And when it's high, it's not being reset. We don't want, now the way that this needs to work is this SMC chip over here, it's going to, ew, what is that? Gross. Anyway, I got to clean that. The SMC chip, it needs 3.42 volts to be stable, like perfectly flat, before it actually tries to turn on. If it tries to turn on with PP342 at 5 volts or 2 volts or 1 volt, it's not going to work. So what SMC Reset L is, it's kind of like a brownout detector. It's going to delay the SMC from turning on for about 1/4 of a second or so. That's, by the way, why it takes about a second for your green light to actually turn green if you have a charger that's not a knockoff in a MacBook. If you have a charger that actually does want to speak to the SMC before it turns on, which are chargers that are not knockoffs, you'll notice that there's that little delay. And that little delay is the delay of waiting for PP3V42 to stabilize to perfectly clean 3 volts, because that's what powers the SMC, before the SMC actually turns on. And this little chip over here ensures that that happens. So that chip is the SMC Reset Chip over here. And it has an input over here, PP3V3S5, SMC, and all these other things. It's actually, I believe this is actually a subrail of PP3V42, not PP3V3S5, but that's for another video. But this chip is going to wait about 1/4 of a second for everything to stabilize in the machine before it allows the SMC to actually turn on. And it's very necessary. Now, if this chip is corroded, maybe it's going to keep the SMC in reset mode permanently. Maybe it's going to keep this SMC reset L signal held down, low, meaning that the SMC stays in reset mode and never actually works. Similarly, if you keep your power button, your reset button on your computer held in and it never actually works. So the third thing that we have to look at here is if you take a look at Flex board view, where are you, Flex? Where are you, Flex? Come back, you little shit. Okay, there we are. What we have to look at is the Jtag connector. So the Jtag connector is this horrible little thing over here. There we go. And it's corroded. As you can see, the corrosion was on the pad all the way at the bottom left, and that's PP342. So I imagine that the corrosion over there had PP342 going to ground. It's very possible that this rail was shorted to ground, or it's possible that the corrosion on SMC Reset was holding SMC Reset down. No way to really know for sure which one it is after the fact, because we already did the work, because I just didn't feel like going through the whole thing when I knew exactly what was wrong with the board already. That being said, that is it. That really is it. Now, we do have some cleaning work to do for other areas of the board. This board is still disgusting. It has not been treated very well, and we are going to put the proper amount of flux on these areas and give them just a little bit of reflow and a little bit of love, because we can't let this go back to the customer like that. This is also going to go through an ultrasonic cleaner, which will pick up anything that I just so happen to miss, but I always prefer to have the joints be reflowed and put back into place properly rather than just cleaning everything off, because I want there to be an actual solder joint that's respectable on these areas of the board again. And also, let's say you have a capacitor that looks like this. I don't want to reuse a capacitor that looks like that without at least filing it on the side. We're going to file it, and we're going to make it look nice again. So just a little bit of this. No big deal. Again, we have here is the proper amount of flux. Okay. So, now that little crater over there's not really much I can do about that. What I can do is on a cap that looks like that, a little bit of foiling, and it looks beautiful and shiny again. Like this resistor, we just give it a little bit of filing. I don't want to only file the top, no way in hell. I want the bottom of it to be beautiful. Okay. And you look around, so you've got this over here that was corroded. So we this one's a little too corroded for my liking. No big deal. We just remove it. I want to get rid of the old solder. That's why I'm using an obnoxious ball over here. And also I want to suck up any of that nasty stuff that's there onto the iron. Now, as you can see, this on the left pad, it doesn't look like a nice, neat, even blob. It actually looks like the corrosion is not allowing solder to stick on the top of it. And as I've said, you don't want to solder on top of corrosion. Now, solder wick can often work like sandpaper in a really beautiful way. And over here, remember, what we want to do is kind of sand it down so that I can also remove the junky solder that's there. So the wick is going to serve double purpose over there. So we have some nice good wick over here. And just a little bit of happy scraping. See? Scrape. Now, I can do a little bit of happy scraping like this, and I got my pad back. See, I got most of my pad back there? Yeah, you don't want to do too much, because you see how around the pad, you can see how some of the coating has kind of come off. Now, if you're a real pro, sometimes you can manage to not scrape any of that coating off around it while you're doing that. Either way, see, that is going to be considerably better than me just soldering a cap on top of corrosion. You don't want to solder on top of corrosion. And let's get this as well, since this area got a little hit. Look at how pretty that all is. Look at how pretty it is. And you just keep going until it's a happy little MacBook again. Right now, see, This is also why you take the board out, because all the work that I did that get the thing to turn on was done on the other side of the board. And it turned on, did it not? I mean, you know, there are people out there in this world that would not even take the board out. They would just fix what they see on the top and give it back. Why take screws out when you don't have to? But at the end of the day, that's not a real job. It's not a real repair. You want to do a real repair. Don't stand up. You absolute bastard. I'll catch you and bring you back. You don't get to jump out the factory. There will be a net and a trampoline to bounce you back into the factory, to go back into another MacBook. Yes, just like that. Nice try, mofo, nice try. If their employees can't get away, then you surely can't get away either. Alright. Just like filing your nails. These two are not good enough. These two have too much corrosion under them. I'm not just gonna file those. Those gotta go. Yeah, you can't be that damaged and still be here. Same with this cap over here. This end is completely gone on this capacitor all the way to the right. It's not rehabilitable, in my opinion. That's fine. That section of the board is a main power rail, so it has a high thermal mass. It's very difficult to actually get anything off of there nicely with a micro pencil. Also, we're going to have to be a little creative with the wicking to try and scrape a pad away. Because it doesn't look like there's any pad under there. May have to knife it, actually. May have to do some knifing and scraping to get that back. Yeah, it looks like some knifing and scraping is going to be required there. No worries. Okay, on the left side, we got ourselves something that I could solder to. That's a win. On the right side, it looks like we just got junk, though. Yeah, there's not really shit left there. So this is the part where we're going to figure out what that is, so we can figure out a place that we can grab it from. No big deal. Stuff like that happens, you know? Not a big deal. Nothing to get scared of. So on the left, you have SMC TMS. That goes straight to the SMC, so thank God that pad is there. On the right, you got PP342, so I could just put the resistor facing upwards and then run a wire from here to there. Or just have the resistor literally go from here to here. I got options. I don't have to solder directly to here. This has to go there. But this, I mean, I can get that from anywhere. So that's not a big deal to me at all. There's no fear. No fear. No fear at all. So this cap over here is also not essential. You already have another several PP342 bypass caps over there. But I'll scrape off a space for it anyway. And that pad was completely corroded out under there, so we're just... I've never seen a fear this thicker ever in my life, zombie. That's going to require a micro jumper to be... Actually, it may not. Let's see. Yeah, that's soldered on there. No micro jumper needed. A micro jumper on like this small bypass cap seems like overkill. That's OCD. That'll get floated into place with some hot air in a moment. Now for the Smc resistor. Actually, you can use that probe point as an anchor. Make sure my iron always is a little bit on the tip. You always want to be prepared with a little bit on the tip. You never know when you'll need to use it. Just a little bit on the tip. I can't grab the wire. I actually couldn't grab it for it. Okay, so that resistor is not where it's supposed to be, but it is soldered to what it's supposed to be soldered to, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. So that's all cleaned up and much better. I'm not dealing with corroded shit anymore. Again, would it have worked? Yeah, but you know that this customer would have been back in like 8 months or a year saying it doesn't work after you fixed it. And that's not what you want. You want things to work for a nice long time when you fix them. You want to know that you got everything. Yeah, it's a nice little work of art. And now the final piece is flowing everything into place nicely. Yeah. Yeah. I think that there may be a little bit of a void on the bottom solder joint of that resistor because I just kind of hot aired it onto a probe point that I semi-tinned. So I'm just going to touch that up a little bit. That's a little bit of a fat boy there. Hold. Can I hold this resistor down while I solder? Who am I kidding? I can barely control my hand anymore. Why am I even doing this? Here we go. Okay, I got it long enough. So there's no more solder void. And then we do this. Flow it into exactly where it wants to be. And there we go. All right. That's beautiful. So that's it for today, and as always, I hope that you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. And I'm kind of hungry. Got to figure out what I can get to eat this late. I think my fridge may be empty at home. I have a nice bachelor's fridge. Mostly expired shit that I have to throw away. Where's my... I gotta wash this flux off my hand. Way too much flux in my hand. Paul got this heavy-duty hand cleaner. It's really cool. I think it's SCJ Chemical. Actually, no, that's not it. It's a Cresto. Yeah, Cresto Classic. Super heavy-duty hand cleaning paste. It's not even soap, it's paste. So if you get flux on yourself or like bits of paint or oil, it's soap, but it has these little things in it, these little beads in it that just kind of, as you're wiping, it just grabs away all the stuff. I think it grabs away all of the stuff that actually that hydrates your hand as well. So you have to be really careful with this stuff because I imagine if you use it too often, you wind up probably, with a hand or an arm that looks like Mosenrath's from Aladdin after he had the glove on for too long. I also didn't realize that the guy from that played Mosenrath committed suicide until the other day. I looked up some of the kid shows I used to enjoy and just some of the episodes and the actors. No idea that he committed suicide. That's fucked up. It's crazy. That's like the 2003 version of the YouTube algorithm screwing you over and your channel not doing well anymore. Because people do kill themselves over that. That's crazy. You know, people laugh, but there's people that actually commit suicide because their channels used to do well, and then they didn't do well, and then nothing they post shows up, and it doesn't get in anybody's feed anymore, and like they lose them. Like I remember what happened to Eli when his videos used to do well, and then like, you know, he started getting 1,000 or like 500 views per new videos that he did, even ones that were tech related that he actually put effort into. I remember that in 2016, 15, 17, when he realized that like nobody cared about anything he did anymore. Was it that or was it algorithm? You never know. Like right now, my main channel is losing like 400 subscribers a day or something, but luckily, I don't really care. This is my side thing. But yeah, the kid from Aladdin actually, the guy that played Mosenrath actually killed himself. That is fucked up. Very fucked up. Very fucked up. Okay, we're gonna leave some notes for this, and then be done. I'll read some of your stuff, see if it's worth reading or just junk, and then get out of here. Get myself a nice meal. Get myself a nice meal with all my YouTube money. All that YouTube money. What did I get this stream? Let's see. Let's be greedy. I think I made third. Let's see. What did I get? What did I get? Oh, yeah. Yeah. $13. 12 bucks after fees. Yeah. I'm going to get myself a shawarma from a Moon's Falafel, probably, if they're still open. Actually, it looks like it's a little late. I think they're going to be closed. I think that's just enough to get a shawarma. That shit used to be like $2. The prices on everything went up insanely once they moved. They got kicked out of their old space, I think. Had a very, very efficient space. Okay, what do we have here in chat? I'll read some chat before I'm out of here. I don't think there's any place with a veggie burrito open at this hour. The whole "the city that never sleeps" thing is bullshit. Like, there's nothing that there's. I think Moons is going to be the only thing worthwhile I can get at 11 p.m. Thank you, Schwa and Zombie Streisand. Zombie Stressin'. Don't read it, it's just junk. Oh, let's see. We're not worth reading, well. Seditionalist is worth reading sometimes. People commit suicide for less. That it is, and it's sad. I think those people have something wrong with them, and it's not really the reason's fault. Yeah, like, yeah. It's sad when it gets to the point. Like, once somebody's at the point where they think it's better off that they take their own life than they, like, you have to feel genuinely hopeless at that point. Like, there's nothing that you could ever do that would ever fix it, and that's really depressing and sad. Thank you, Schwa. Oh, let me put this over here. It removes the skin oils. Probably does. I gotta get some dry skin cream here to go with that stuff. Beads are bad for the ocean. Well, if you get anal beads and you just keep them up there rather than put them in the ocean, then it's not really bad for the fish. Bad for your asshole, but not bad for the fish. Halal guy, they have to be open. I've got way too many halal. Not in the fan. How did you get to work? Today I drove. Usually I don't drive. Usually I take a bicycle. I drove because of the schedule and realizing that my secret parking spot would be available. But I hate driving in New York City. It's horrible. I try to avoid it whenever possible and use a bicycle. How often do you see what you're doing through all the gunk? It looks way better through the microscope than it does through the camera. Not really, Michael Hollop. It's just a method of relaxation for me sometimes. There's nothing that has to be validated here. Are you still doing classes? I don't. Paul, Chris, and Dan do them. The store does them, but I don't do them. Yeah, that's all Paul, Chris, and Dan. Mostly Paul. Driving an 18-wheeler in New York City sounds like hell on earth. Secret parking spot sounds like an illicit waifu. No, it's something even worse than that. There's something worse than that. No, you don't want to clean the boards before you fix them. Then you'll miss all the little bits of corrosion. The corrosion that you have to deal with the iron. Ultrasonic at the end. Also, you want to do the least cleaning cycles as humanly possible because each ultrasonic cycle makes it more likely that the board will not turn on again. So I only want to do one ultrasonic cleaning cycle at the end rather than the beginning when all the work is done. All right, time for me to get something to eat. And I'm going to get something to eat. Call a friend who seems to be having a hard time. And be out of here. That's shitty news. Oh, I'll see you later. Bye now.